everybody, it's Nick, Judge Eric. We're back from our first of 2 races at Gingerman for 2021 out there in Michigan.
Yeah, and as the resident Midwesterner, I feel it's my duty to talk about the weather. Lake Michigan decided to hose us with a nasty rain shower that lasted about 2 days. We even had a lightning storm that we had to bring in the corner workers, put the whole race on hold for about 2.5 hours. Really, the only thing we could do at that point was play the Paddock some hold music.
And speaking of music, Mary Sealhorse, she writes an original song for every Lemons race that she's at. She really captured the mood of the weather as well.
Wet and windy rain, it is pouring. I flag a yellow, but they just keep going. And when they pass, I wave, but they don't see me.
Now, one of the new things we're doing here is we're giving out a set of Yokohama tires if you run on a set of Yokohama tires. It's kind of a self-sustaining thing. Basically, all you got to do, bring a set of Yokohama tires on your race car, run with them on the car, and you're entered in a drawing at the end of the weekend to win a set of tires. This is called the Road Mangler Cup, and the winner this weekend was Wisconsin Crap Racing. Hella sweet this weekend. Andy Diderosi, our friend in Detroit, has been working with some high school kids. They all came out, saw what Lemons was all about for the weekend. Basically, we're doing our part to introduce kids to bad decision making in the best way we possibly can.
We're totally gonna go do some really dumb stuff.
Speaking of newbies, we've had a lot of newbie teams lately, and little known fact, if you're a newbie team, you get automatic acceptance in any Lemons race that you apply to, so go for it. At this race, we had a couple noteworthy ones. We'll get to a few of them later, but for right now, we really loved the Dynamite Volvo 245 and this Hyundai Elantra that, as far as we could tell, was stolen from the parking lot of the Dollar General.
Now, at this race, we had one of the most anticipated road racing battles in history. We're, of course, talking about something on the scale of, like Ford versus Ferrari.
Yeah, it was like Mayweather versus Pacquiao.
Bird versus Magic, if you were around in the 80s.
Yeah, and instead of that, at this race, we had this anticipated matchup.
In this corner, we have a corny affectation for people trying to relive a time that never existed. And in this corner, the exact same thing just several years later and already out of style because General Motors. You win!
Gingerman Raceway, one of our favorite places to visit. 2021 marks the 25th anniversary of the Gingerman racetrack, although its namesake and predecessor, the Gingerman Tavern, it goes back way further. Now, the tavern had an interesting logo that had something to do with a jungle cat and a sexy lady sort of lying on top of it. We have no idea what the deal was with that, but we discovered that those signs from the original tavern were in the garage at the racetrack.
Now, once we found that out, obviously we had to do a penalty. There was a team who spun out a whole bunch. We made them recreate the sign, trying very hard and very poorly to be sexy. It kind of didn't work out for them, but they enjoyed themselves, which is great because the rest of their weekend sucked hard. On the way to the track that very morning, their truck got hit by a driver who hella ran away. Then on the way home, after their RX-7 blew up, the trailer tire checked out and they were stranded on the side of the road for several hours.
There were lots of great themes at this race. We had B2 Racing and their Dodge Stealth with the Red Lobster Porsche 962 tribute.
And we also had Mentos Racing with their Suzuki Esteem left at home, but they brought a hella sweet Mentos theme on their BMW.
We had Scheissmeister Racing, Porsche 944 Turbo. They slapped a turbo on their regular ass 944 so that it can explode in more dramatic fashion and at higher speeds, but they also had a great Bass livery.
Also hella sweet, Party Sheep Racing had their Mr. McGiblets themed BMW there.
What in the world is Mr. McGiblets?
You know, Mr. McGiblets.
What the?
And then we had the veteran team, the League of Legitimate Nigerian Businessmen. They did a McAfee theme. Now, this is McAfee virus protection for your computer. You've probably heard of that. Well, the man behind it, John McAfee, he was successful with the virus thing, but then he had about 1,000 other ideas that were maybe not as successful.
Hella sweet at this race was Rocket Road Racing, and we don't usually talk about class winners, but their Class B win started with an odyssey in the desert 3 months ago.
Yeah, and I was getting emails from one of the guys from this team while this was happening, and I couldn't understand any of it. It was like there was a moped, there was a meth addict, there were firearms, and all I could do was respond to his email like, this is a cool story, good luck.
So, what actually happened with these guys? They were on their way back from racing at Sonoma, their Midwestern teams, and their motorhome overheated in the desert near Needles, California, which is near absolutely nothing. In order to save themselves, they hopped on the scooter, rode 60 miles to get parts, tried riding back, got a flat, called an Uber. The Uber driver showed up conveniently with a minivan. They tossed the scooter in it, rode back out, and fixed the motorhome enough to limp it back to the Midwest. If you see him at the next race, ask him about it.
Bad Decisions Racing, another veteran team, they came back with a new theme called Bad Decisions Tree Service. Here's why. They had a tree fall on their minivan in between the last race and this one. They rethemed with the tree service. It was hella sweet.
Hella sweet at this race was the Amputee Blade Runner team. Now, this is a group who helps kids obtain prosthetics if they've had amputations. Great organization. They were having a lot of fun. The drivers were all amputees, and they drove the car poorly. Not because they're amputees, but, you know, because it's a Mustang. However, they racked up a bunch of black flags. They took it in good spirits. We sent them to go fish in Nick's Pond, which is the pond on Gingerman's property, and they caught a fish in the rain, which was pretty hella sweet.
Speaking of doing poorly in pony cars, Cross Thread Racing decided to leave their LS Swap Camaro at home for this race and instead bring an 8-valve regular-ass Volvo 240. Result, they did better than they had ever done in the Camaro in the Volvo.
Heroic Fixed at this race went to Fireball Racing in their 1967 Ford Fairlane.
Why you ruined classic.
Classic. This is the team's second Heroic Fix, and both of them actually involve driving great distances in their street car, completely unrelated to their race car. Previously, team captain Chad Adams had to drive from Alabama to Illinois to renew his driver's license that expired the day before the race. This time around, the Fairlane blew up a V8. He had to drive a really damn long way to go get another V8, spent a whole bunch of time putting it in, managed to get it back out, turned like 50 laps. That's pretty heroic for a 67 Fairlane.
I Got Screwed went to Tonk and the Interference Fits. This was a Buick Riata, incredible machine. It had the functioning 120-pound CRT touchscreen system. They had a great 8-bit theme which fit the car perfectly. They thought that by doing all of this cool 80s stuff, they would distract us from their secret plan to totally walk away with the race, which was of course the supercharged Buick V6 and a 5-speed manual transmission. Well, did it dominate? No. Did it blow up on the test day?
Well, yeah.
Did they bring a spare engine?
No, God!
Now, they did find another engine about 2.5 hours away. They went and they fetched it, they brought it back, and we asked them, very simple question, is it a drop-in replacement?
Yes, well!
As it turned out, it was a slightly different generation of the engine, which means that while it physically fit into the car, there was a whole bunch of other crap that didn't work quite right. They were working on it in the middle of the rainstorm. It was hella butt-ass terrible, and when they finally got it in, it ran like doo-doo for 2 laps, which means with 2 engines, they made 1 lap per engine.
The regional award was the Spirit of Fisher-Price Award. It went to Dilapidated Racing. Now, this team emailed me months ago, and they said, okay, we've got a theme idea. You know the Fisher-Price toy phone? I'm like, yeah, it's like an old-school rotary phone with wheels. They're like, yeah, we're gonna do that. Gonna be based on a Chevy S10. That was it. I was like, yes, please make that happen. Make it happen. They did.
It returns to center.
Eric, you know I never half-ass my themes.
That's right.
At this race, we brought back the Life of the Paddock Award because Brown Rubber Soul Racing spent most of their Friday going to the lumber yard just outside the racetrack, coming back with some exorbitantly priced lumber and building a bar to put in the paddock for Friday and Saturday nights. That was hella sweet, and so too was the fact that they donated all the tips at the bar to the charity Lemons of Love.
Judge's choice went to Little Enos Racing, and it was Judge's choice because Eric was judge at this race, and he is a Ford Tempo owner, and he has pointed out accurately that we have never seen a Mercury Topaz in Lemons. And the Topaz, of course, being the upmarket Ford Tempo. This team was like, we're gonna make it happen, we're gonna bring a Mercury Topaz. After months of searching for one that still ran, they could not find one. They finally just gave in, got a Tempo, got every single piece of Topaz badging and trim bits they could find on eBay. They redid the Tempo as a Topaz, which, to be fair, that's what Ford did, and this was the result. The motor was the horrible high swirl combustion engine. High swirl combustion, what does that even mean? It's a 4-cylinder based on the 200 straight 6, got 2 cylinders cut off. This was the final year of production, so surely all of the kinks were worked out.
Yes, well!
It's got 90 horsepower, it's got automatic, painfully slow. Even in the rain, it was just getting lapped. Somehow they fried their brakes. Nobody carries brake parts for a Tempo/Topaz, whatever. Took them forever to figure it out. They finally did, got back out on track, took the checkered flag, got to race in some nice weather where they were getting lapped at an even higher rate. Well-deserved judge's choice.
Organizer's choice at this race went to Mrs. Puff's Boating Academy. Now, if you're not a big SpongeBob SquarePants fan, that is a SpongeBob reference. And this was a team of 20-somethings from Minnesota. They were all college friends. They always wanted to do something kind of crazy and out there and, do it all together. So they found one of the teammates' old shop runners. It was a Honda Accord wagon with about 450,000 miles on it. They kind of dusted it out of the back grove and threw a cage in it, showed up. They had absolutely no idea what they were doing, but good God were they having fun doing it. Every time we saw them, they were laughing, they were having a good time. On Sunday, the engine overheated like a lot, and melted the spark plug boots into the block, which is a failure we've never seen in Lemons that I know of. They pulled as much of it out as they could, then decided to shove some shop rags into it and tape over it and run it on 2 cylinders. In order to do this, you have to keep the throttle matted, which they did. We expected they would run about 3 minutes.
3 hours later.
Finally, it lost just enough power that it couldn't keep running at all and got towed in. Nevertheless, they were having a hell of a time. We love that about them. We love newcomers who get it. Very well done, Mrs. Puff's Boating Academy.
Well, we said we were going to return to talk about the newbie teams. This was a newbie team that won the grand prize in their first outing, the Index of Effluency. It went to Freezer Farms Racing in this Chevy S10. It had a great Hank Hill theme with really tiny little wheels and gigantic wheel arches. It looked hilarious going around the track. It was incredibly butt slow, finished mid-pack. as steadily running vehicles often do. So there you go. It was an overachievement. Well done, newbie team. You get the IOE.
That brings us to Lemons in a Nutshell.
That's a pretty good beat. I could use this for a drum and bass track. Oh, it was getting it. Let me just push it. Nearly there. Come on, come on.
I know my own needs. And what I need from an automobile, I know I get from this new Cordova. Cordova.
Rubbed and bumped and loud and smoking. That car from Ypsilanti seems broken. And when it passes, the corner workers go eee. Ooh, they are driving so badly. We shake our heads oh so sadly. Well, the track starts to flood like a sea. They look straight ahead, not at me. The car goes off by my corner station, drives out of the mud to a standing ovation. Raking dresses on cars that pass as I see. Judges see a thunderstorm coming. One thing this race isn't is boring. Black flags all around, it's getting windy. Now we're waiting, hold music playing. Lemons FM radio station. Soothing smooth jazz playlist by DJ Andy.